Καλημέρα κυρίες και κύριοι, καλημέρα σε όλες τις γωνιές της Ελλάδας που με παρακολουθείτε είτε τώρα, ειδικά στην Κέρκυρα, στη Ρόδο, στην Κο, στη Νέα Ποτίδα και όσους από εσάς θα μας παρακολουθήσετε μετά, γιατί χαιρόμαστε πολύ γιατί δουλεύετε αυτή τη στιγμή. Πολύ ευχάριστη σκέψη αυτή. Λοιπόν, είμαι η Ηλία Ζαμπέτογλου, βρίσκεστε στο The Inset Webinar Series και σήμερα θα περάσουμε την επόμενη 1,5 ώρα παρέα. Να δούμε λίγο τι ακριβώς θα κάνουμε. Θα κάνω μια μικρή εισαγωγή, θα πω λίγα λόγια για το Inset. Το θέμα μας σήμερα είναι οι νέες προσδοκίες που έχουν δημιουργηθεί λόγω της πανδημίας και πώς θα τις αντιμετωπίσουμε σε επίπεδο των reviews που έχουμε στα ξενοδοχεία μας. Οι ερωτήσεις για την σημερινή μας expert μπαίνουν στο link που θα λάβετε και στο YouTube και στο Zoom αυτή τη στιγμή. Είναι αυτό το περιβάλλον, πατάτε questions, γράφετε την ερώτησή σας, μπράβο του, και πατάτε υποβολή. Σε περίπτωση που κάποιος συνάδελφος έχει κάνει μια ερώτηση που σας αντιπροσωπεύει, τότε την ψηφίζετε. Η Ντάνικα στο τέλος της εισήγησής της θα απαντήσει στις ερωτήσεις σας. Τώρα, κάποιοι βασικοί κανόνες. Το Gallery Review είναι το καλύτερο review που μπορείτε να έχετε στο Zoom. Στο τέλος του webinar θα σας σταλεί ένα link με την αξιολόγηση του webinar και εκεί θα μπορέσετε να κατεβάσετε την παρουσίαση που θα μας δείξει η expert μας σήμερα, όπως και όλες τις παρουσιάσεις των The Inset Webinar Series μέχρι σήμερα. Τα control σας είναι το chat, όπου λαμβάνετε μηνύματά μας και μας στέλνετε κι εσείς, αντίστοιχα και στο YouTube. Το raise hand σε περίπτωση που ερωτηθείτε κάτι, και το Q&A δεν θα το χρησιμοποιήσουμε σήμερα, διότι έχουμε το κοινό Q&A για όλους όσους μας παρακολουθείτε. Πάμε να δούμε λίγο τι είναι το Ινστιτούτο. Το Inset δημιουργήθηκε το 2013, όταν ο ΣΕΤΕ, ο Σύνδεσμος Ελληνικών Τουριστικών Επιχειρήσεων, θεσμοθετήθηκε ως εθνικός κοινωνικός εταίρος, εκπροσωπώντας τις επιχειρήσεις του τουρισμού απέναντι στην πολιτεία και στην Ευρωπαϊκή Ένωση. Οι στόχοι του ΙΝΣΕΤΕ είναι η επιστημονική υποστήριξη του ΣΕΤΕ, η στήριξη της ανταγωνιστικότητας των ελληνικών τουριστικών επιχειρήσεων, η ενίσχυση των δεξιοτήτων του ανθρώπινου δυναμικού και η ευρύτερη συμβολή στην ανάπτυξη. Στο κομμάτι της εκπαίδευσης, η Διεύθυνση Εκπαίδευσης τρέχουμε μία σειρά από δράσεις που έχουν να κάνουν με την ανάπτυξη των δεξιοτήτων των επαγγελματιών του τουρισμού. Μία από αυτές είναι τα Executive Seminars, όπου έχουμε ταξιδέψει σε 20 πόλεις της Ελλάδας, μελετάμε τις ανάγκες σας, στείλουμε προγράμματα που είναι πρακτικά και εφαρμόσιμα από εσάς και καλύπτουμε ένα μεγάλο μέρος του κόστους αυτών, έτσι ώστε να έχετε ευκολότερη πρόσβαση. Το Σχολείο Τουρισμού On Tour, που είναι ένα συνέδριο με τουριστική θεματολογία, το συνδιοργανώνουμε με τοπικούς φορείς της κάθε περιοχής. Οι ίδιοι δηλαδή αντιλαμβάνονται την ανάγκη για ανάπτυξη και εξέλιξη και για τους επαγγελματίες τους και το έχουμε πάει μέχρι τώρα σε 12 πόλεις και έχουμε διοργανώσει 17 σχολεία τουρισμού on tour. Η συνεργασία μας με το Πανεπιστήμιο Κορνέλ, που θα λάβετε και στο chat το link για να μπείτε να περιηγηθείτε στα courses που προσφέρουμε από το Κορνέλ, καλύπτοντας και πάλι ένα πολύ μεγάλο μέρος του κόστους, και το κομμάτι του e-learning που ξεκίνησε πριν από 2,5 μήνες, το The Inset Webinar Series στην παρούσα φάση, με 2 κομμάτια, το Training Series και το Expert Series. Αυτή είναι η τελευταία εβδομάδα που θα τρέξει η δράση. Έχουμε την Παρασκευή ένα επόμενο webinar και το Σάββατο ένα πολύ ωραίο αποχαιρετιστήριο webinar, όπου 16 από τους εισηγητές μας θα βρεθούμε στο ίδιο webinar να σας αποχαιρετήσουμε για τη φετινή εκπαιδευτική χρονιά και θα κλείσουμε αυτό το κύκλο του The Inset Webinar Series μέχρι την επόμενη εκπαιδευτική χρονιά. Πάμε να γνωρίσουμε την expert μας για σήμερα. Λοιπόν, η σημερινή μας expert είναι Product Specialist της Review Pro. Η Review Pro είναι μια εταιρεία με την οποία συνεργαζόμαστε κιόλας στο Inset. Παίρνουμε τα ποιοτικά δεδομένα για τα ξενοδοχεία μας. Είναι ένας ηγέτης στο πεδίο του Guest Intelligence. Τι κάνει? Συλλέγει δεδομένα από 175 OTA και review sites σε 75 γλώσσες και μελετάει αυτά τα reviews λοιπόν για περίπου 60.000 ξενοδοχεία σε 150 χώρες. Η σημερινή μας expert έχει μια δεκαετή εμπειρία στην πλάτη της στο κομμάτι του Client Marketing Experience και μια 7χρονη εμπειρία στο Hospitality Industry και βαθιά γνώση του Business Development στα κομμάτια των ξενοδοχειακών επιχειρήσεων. Θα γυρίσω τώρα στα αγγλικά και να σας πω πριν προχωρήσουμε ότι αν μπορείτε γράφετε και τις ερωτήσεις σας στα αγγλικά, αν όχι θα κάνω κάθε προσπάθεια να τις μεταφράσω. So I'm switching to English, so she knows that we're calling for her. So join me in welcoming Mrs. Danica Smith, product specialist from Review Pro. Hello!
Hi! Hi!
Hi!
Hi, everybody!
Welcome!
Thank you for having me today.
And the world, the people that watch us now want to give you a spontaneous round of applause, Danica. I know you didn't expect that, did you?
Thank you very much. I feel like I've won an Oscar.
Yeah, you could say that. You can say whatever you want, basically. That's the beauty of it. Okay, I have two questions.
Okay.
Before we start, right? Okay, so how many million reviews do you guys collect and process yearly?
A year. Okay, well, I can give you the daily figure and maybe you can help calculate for me because we process 860 million reviews per day.
What?
860 million per day.
So people are writing reviews, huh?
Yeah. And that's 3 years historical reviews around the world, updated 12 times a day. So yeah.
Wow. Okay. Yeah. All right. That's impressive. So I don't want to spoil your presentation, but I do know, obviously, that you have a poll that you're going to ask our colleagues whether the changes that we see in guest experiences are here to stay or they're going to go away with the pandemic. But, you know, before we get their opinion, I want to ask your personal opinion. Do you think they're here to stay or they're just going to go away at some point?
I think they're here to stay.
God.
Yeah, post-COVID-19 has introduced a new guest and yeah, their expectations have changed forever.
Okay. Oh,
there's positives from it though.
All right. Okay. I'll try to see the positive and I hope you help us with that. So the screen is yours, Danica. I'm going to be back with the questions we have from our colleagues. So good luck and see you in a bit.
Great. Thank you very much, Leah. Thank you. And thank you very much to the Insete team for having me today. Good morning, everybody. My name's Danica and I'm phoning in from a very cloudy Barcelona this morning. I hope you are all well and surviving this difficult and insane, crazy, difficult time that the industry is facing us. So I'm really pleased to be here and grateful to be here today and share hopefully some great tips for you to take away into your hotel and help navigate through reopenings and new guest expectations in a post-COVID-19 world. Just a quick introduction into Review Pro for those of you that don't know us. We are from the guest intelligence world. We are almost 11 years old, which in hotel technology makes us dinosaurs. We work with 60,000 hotels, service apartments, hostels, restaurants all over the world. And we help them really understand what's happening with the guest experience. So before we dive into the presentation, it would be great to hear from you guys. So I would love to know, is your property currently open or planning to open for this season? So we're going to open a poll. For those of you in Zoom, please vote. And for those of you that are listening on YouTube, please write in the comments. So is your property currently open or planning to open for the season? Yes, no, or unfortunately, unsure, because many of our clients in different markets around the world, there's still so much uncertainty, literally day by day, week by week, of when properties are going to open. In APAC, we've seen properties open in the beginning of February and have beginning to see good occupancy levels, but we still have some hotels in the APAC region that are not opening until January. So it really is varied. So it'd be great to hear from you. So You can cast your votes, and then we'll finish the poll and find out for everybody listening who is currently opening or planning to open during the season. Okay, so let's see the results. Okay, wow, interesting. Wasn't expecting this. So 50% of you have said yes, you already opened or are planning to open for the season. So that's great news, and I hope, I wish you all the best of luck for the opening, and I hope it's going well. Exciting times to finally open the doors again. 9% have said no, and 41% of the listeners are still unsure. So for those of you that are unsure, I'm thinking of you, and hopefully today we can help keep you busy before you open. So thank you very much, everybody, for participating in that poll. So I thought it would be good to share some trends. So I wanted to look at what's happening with online reputation in Greece. So we've actually got 1,126 Insete properties loaded onto the Review Pro platform. So what we do is we track 175 different review sources around the world that all feed into the platform. So I wanted to look at review volume. So we're looking at the date range from the 1st of March and until the 15th of June, actually, versus the same period last year. And you can see that this trend, unfortunately, is seen globally. Review volume has decreased 90% year on year. Now, that's no surprise with many of our hotels still not open. But it's really important that as hoteliers, we understand the impact that can have on our business. So when you look at online reputation with reduced reviews, it's really important that you really keep on top of what guests are saying about you across the different sources online. So we can see here that the Global Review Index, which is Review Pro's algorithm, it's the benchmark for your overall score of guest experience, is 87.7%, and it's had a slight increase year on year. If we look at the review distribution between positive, neutral, and negative, not only have we seen that reviews have decreased 90% year on year, but what was interesting to see is actually guests are becoming more polarized in 2020 post-COVID-19. And by that, I mean, we've seen an increase in positive reviews and an increase in negative reviews. And that means that the guests are either extremely happy or extremely negative and unhappy. There's no more neutral ground as what we would have seen prior to COVID-19. So I really urge you guys to understand at your property, what's happening at the different reviews sites at your property. So if we look at the top 3 sources for those 1,126 Greek hotels loaded, and let's look at Google, Booking.com and TripAdvisor, and just look at these statistics. It's staggering. Google has seen a review decrease of 83% year on year. Now, for those of you that have been monitoring your online reviews during this time, you would have noticed that actually Google stopped reviews for about 2 months, actually. They've only, in the beginning of June, they opened up their reviews again. So they actually did not allow hotels to respond to reviews, nor for the guests to complete a review. Look, Booking.com, 90.7% decrease year on year, and TripAdvisor, almost 95%. Now, we all know review volume is incredibly important and is one of the key algorithm factors into the algorithms of where you rank within these online sources. So for those of you that have managed to achieve fantastic TripAdvisor ranking positions over the years, you really need to work hard at maintaining that level, and review volume is going to be key. So really think about your review volume, guys, and make sure you're aware of what's happening at your property across the different sources. So let's have a look at what guests are feeling at the moment. So Leah touched on the poll question. So I would like to ask another poll question to the audience, if you don't mind. And I would like to hear from you. What do you think? Do you think that guest behaviour and expectations will permanently be changed post-COVID-19? Yes, no, or unsure? And again, guys, for those of you that aren't on Zoom, remember to leave a comment and let us know what you think. And by guest behaviours and expectations, we really mean when I come and stay at your property, am I the same guest as what I was 6 months ago or last year? Do I have the same needs, wants, and desires post COVID-19? So it would be great to hear from you. So let me know what you think and let's see what the results say. Wow, okay. Good, I'm not the only insane one. 92% of us agree that yes, guest behaviour and expectations will permanently change post-COVID-19. 3% said no and 6% are unsure. So thank you very much, everybody who shared. So we asked this same question to the industry, to hoteliers around Europe in May 2020. And again, the results are pretty unanimous. 72% of hoteliers said yes, they believe that the guest behaviour and expectations will permanently change, whilst only 6% said no. 22% were unsure. Now, I think it would be really interesting to repeat this question at the end of the year and see if it looks the same. So why do we think guests have changed? So this is a study that was carried out to the consumer in April 2020 by a marketing agency. And the question to customers was, please give one word of which you associate to travel right now. And this is no surprise. We see safety, uncertainty, danger, scary, unsafe, cautious, coronavirus. And absolutely, these are the first words that do spring into our minds when we think about travel. And that's so disappointing when we live and breathe hospitality and travel. But unfortunately, this is the reality. And this sets the scene for the new guests and what their expectations are. So let's have a look at what some of these guests are actually saying. Now, these are actually live reviews coming from the Insette properties that I wanted to share with you. Now, first of all, across the 1,000 properties that I looked at last week, I first of all want to say well done to all of the Insette properties, because there has been very minimal mentions of coronavirus and COVID-19 so far. And the majority were really positive, which is really congratulations and well done, because I know as a hotelier, it's been incredibly difficult to navigate through this crazy time. And we saw a lot of reviews like these two here, where the guest was actually praising the staff for the professionalism and making them feel so safe and secure during this time, which is fantastic. So well done. Unfortunately, though, there were a few negative reviews, as always, but I really wanted to highlight this. Here we can see a review on Google that was complaining about how the hotel booking and reservation side of things and how that was handled shockingly. There was a review left on booking.com that talks about, due to the virus, some employees became a bit paranoid. Now, let's take it back to review volume and think, if your hotel is closed or has only just opened, you cannot afford to have a negative review like this on Google, Booking, TripAdvisor, Expedia be at the top of the site. It's too detrimental to your business. And what we've seen, this trend, guys, here are some other reviews from around the world that I wanted to share, because it really emphasizes that the guests, this is what's so important to them. You know, the rooms were clean and tidy, and this is so important. Hotels have extra vigilance during COVID-19. A negative review, the coronavirus was just beginning to appear, so hygiene should have been a priority. So we're seeing guests are talking about this already online back in March. So it's really important that when you respond, and the operations and the guest experience that you provide to your guests is thinking about health and safety, cleanliness, new protocols, keeping them safe. And I know many of you have been investing so much money and time and energy into really looking at how you can meet these standards. So really shout about that in your reviews, which we will come about. It's not just the guests that are wanting to see cleanliness and health and safety protocols in place. It's the industry as well. No surprise, this is the same survey where we asked the industry in Europe, what are you planning to implement post-COVID-19? And a whopping 90% of hoteliers said that they plan to increase health and safety and or cleanliness training for staff. So no surprise there. And obviously, Leah and the Insetti team will share this slide with you so you can really look into details here. But so what we're seeing here across the industry is it's the guests that are demanding new protocols, new cleanliness, new health and safety, new hygiene. And the industry is responding very well, which is great to see. And again, when we ask the industry, which of the following protocols have you implemented or plan to implement, a whopping 96% of the respondents, hoteliers, said that they plan to enhance their current cleaning protocols, which is fantastic to see. So that's a bit of an insight into what's happening in the industry as from the guest perspective, as well as the hoteliers. So let's have a look at what can we do to make sure that we're ready for opening. Now, it's fantastic that 50% of you are already open. Unfortunately, I doubt many people are running at great occupancy. So it's really important, even if you are open or remain closed, that we really think about how can we get ready for business opening again and getting back to high occupancy levels, whenever that might be. So first of all, I wanted to talk about management response. This is so crucial, guys, and I cannot stress this enough. TripAdvisor's research pre-COVID-19 in 2018 said that 86% of their website traffic would choose one hotel over another hotel solely based on the management response. So I really want you to think about that. And actually, in my previous life as a hotelier, I worked for a UK chain and they had 3 hotels in London. And luckily, the 3 hotels were all the top 15 hotels on TripAdvisor in London. And when I looked at their TripAdvisor visits per month in the month of March 2016, each property had between 9,000 and 10,000 visits to that page. Imagine, guys, you have 10,000 people looking at your TripAdvisor page, credit card in hand, ready to book. I'm either going to book at your property or your competitor's property. So management response is crucial, especially when we're fighting for a reduced share of the pie and review volume is down. So you really need to think about what are your current workflows and processes with regarding to responses. In the past, you might have had your reception teams responding to all of your reviews. However, now what happens if somebody mentions COVID-19? Perhaps the GM is to respond to that review. What about your negative reviews? What's the process there? What about surveys? For those of you that have guest surveys in place, how are you going to change the process to responding to surveys? And really think about your management response strategies. So what are your time deadlines in place? Previously, pre-COVID-19, many of our clients would set KPIs in place regarding time. For example, my hotel is to respond to 100% of negative reviews within 48 hours. Well, if I'm seeing a huge reduction in review volume, perhaps I want to change that KPI to 24 hours. Really think about what reviews are you going to prioritize, and also how can you steal market share within your response? How can you make sure I book your hotel and not your competitor's hotel in your response? And finally, really think about templates. How can templates support your management response? Now, we do not recommend robotic template answers in responding to online reviews. However, sentence templates can help. Let's say you've opened your hotel, but your spa facilities remain closed. You might want to create a sentence template that helps respond to complaints about the spa being closed, for example. So I wanted to share some examples with you guys to really emphasize how important this is. And try and remember, when you respond to a review, you're not responding to the guest. You are providing visibility to potentially thousands of people reading that response. So here is an example of a hotel in Italy, actually, from a guest from Finland. And they say that actually during the coronavirus, the standard regarding hygiene and health and standards was very high, and the staff were extremely professional and good. Fantastic. This is exactly the kind of review we want to see and we want to hear about. However, the response is so disappointing. It's completely generic. It looks templated. Thank you on behalf of all of the staff. We thank you for your comments and can't wait to welcome you back. Really, really disappointing. What could have been a much better response to really maximize that response would have been something like this. You know, the hotel should have really emphasized, thank you. I'm so pleased you felt our standard of hygiene was high and that you found the team to be professional. Since COVID-19, we've invested in new training and new health and safety protocols to ensure the safety of all of our guests and staff. Remember, this is what guests want to see. They're scared, there's health and safety concerns, there's uncertainty. We need to reassure our guests that our hotels are safe and ready for them to come and enjoy. So really think about how you respond, guys. Now, we appreciate that obviously you're going to, you may come across a situation where there's a difficult review and a negative review. But how do you respond in that case? So it's really important to always apologize for the experience, but also acknowledge in your management response that this is an unusual time and difficult time for everybody, including your staff. However, you take on the feedback on board and then really, again, highlight the things that you have changed at your property. Implemented new training to ensure the staff are fully equipped to make sure guests feel safe and secure. Talk about the cleanliness protocols that you've implemented since COVID-19 and all the fantastic work that I know you guys have been doing over the last 2 months. So really think about your processes, guys, and make sure you've got the right foundations in place. Think about in-stay, and if I'm a guest and I have a request, how can you make sure that that guest request is dealt with in a timely manner? What about if there's a complaint? What are your escalation parameters? Who's going to deal with that complaint? How and when? So you really need to make sure that you're confident throughout the guest journey in pre-stay, in-stay and post-stay that you can really meet those guest requests and those expectations. And just finally on this point, know your competition. This is a restaurant in Amsterdam, and post-COVID-19, this was their brilliant, creative and innovative response to social distancing. This got picked up around the world and had so much press. You really cannot afford for your competitor down the road to launch an initiative like this. So make sure you keep on top of your competition and know, when are they opening? What are they offering? What are their strengths and what are their weaknesses? So let's look at how you can make sure that you're COVID-19 ready for the new guest, which we all agree is here to stay. This is actually a live drawing of one of our Spanish clients of how their reopening looks like with social distancing. And this is something that I'm so proud of to come from this industry, to see how agile we are, and we just move and do things. And I'm sure you've got similar drawings on napkins around your hotels and offices as well. But we need to think about, how do we welcome the new guest? So we already spoke about online reviews and how all eyes are going to be online reviews. I personally think reviews are now more than ever more important. Think about your hygiene marketing. I never thought I would say this as a marketer, but we need to talk about cleanliness, hygiene, and health and safety. These are the things that guests want to see. So how are you going to market and communicate this to those guests? And really ensure, guys, that, as COVID-19 changes rapidly, those guest expectations will also change rapidly. So really make sure that you're continuously having a temperature check on how your guests are feeling. What does the new guest look like? So we really need to think about the changes in the guest experience. What preferences do I have now when I come to your property? Do I want to, perhaps I never wanted to have a mini room, a bar in my room, and I always was happy to sit in your vibrant, busy bar. Perhaps now, no, I would rather have my rum and coke in my room, for example. What are the legal requirements in your markets? If you're attracting international guests, really think about what's their expectations regarding the legal requirements. If I'm a guest from Portugal, I have a very clear, defined process of what a hotel needs to do to be opened. Completely different if I'm a guest from the UK. We have no idea what we're doing in the UK. So really think about that. Also, your destination marketing. If you're a hotel in Athens and you have always relied on your great location nearest to be close to the biggest tourist attractions, well, perhaps now as a guest, when I come to Athens, I no longer feel comfortable standing in a queue with 100 people to see that attraction. So you might have to think about your positioning of your hotel as well from a marketing perspective. And then we really need to understand the shift in consumer patterns. What about corporate versus leisure? Domestic versus international? You might have relied heavily on international leisure business, and now you find yourself trying to get domestic travel to your hotel. What are the changes that you need to do operationally, sales and marketing to meet those new guests? These are the kind of questions that you should be asking yourself within the business. And life post COVID-19, I've touched on this a lot, but I cannot stress how important it is to have clear communication. We need to be transparent, both internally and externally to our guests. You need to communicate any laws and regulations and protocols in place. What about your F&B offering? Is the breakfast buffet anymore? Who knows? Think about your reopening. You might have less staff, less languages on your reception team than what you had prior, less time. So again, how are we going to really maximize the processes within the hotel? And what about technology? How can technology help support this touchless, contactless experience? How does this make you feel, this picture? Makes me feel nervous, anxious, uncertain, scared, excited, a mix of feelings. So really, this is exactly how our guests are feeling. So how can we look at technology to support a contactless journey? So again, we asked the industry, what technologies do they consider implementing post-COVID-19? And 50% said mobile self-service check-in. 32% said mobile key door locks. This is what we want to see as guests. I no longer perhaps want to talk to somebody at reception. I want to just check in and check out on my phone to ensure social distancing, etc. So really think about, guys, how can you help make the guests feel safe when they are on property and throughout the journey? So when I'm exploring, when I'm looking to book, make sure you have a good website, communicating your protocols and policies. You're really maximizing your management response. Pre-stay, let's say I'm coming to stay with you in September. It's really important you communicate with me the different changes from now until September that inevitably will occur in our properties. When I'm on property, where are you going to put hand sanitizers? What about signage? How are you going to communicate the different behaviors that I as a guest need to meet? What will room service look like, for example? And again, post-stay, how can we encourage that we have more reviews and that we're constantly getting feedback from the guests to make sure we're on track with what the guests are expecting. So we really need to understand the new guest and what that looks like today and tomorrow and in July and August and September. And it's unfortunately never ending and will never remain static. So this is something that we all know, but I wanted to share these statistics quickly because it's hard hitting. Guest messaging is no longer a nice to have. So since COVID-19, since February 2020, messaging services have increased 45% worldwide, which is no surprise. So really think about, guys, how can you communicate mobile to interact with guests in the new way? Well, one, mobile offers accessibility and convenience. Am I going to feel comfortable picking up your in-room telephone to order room service? Perhaps not. Perhaps I'd feel much more comfortable being able to talk to you on my own mobile device. So really think about a mobile-centric service model. What does that look like? And how can that really improve the guest experience? And meet the demands of a post-COVID-19 guest, i.e. social distancing, less personal human touch and more technology touch. So we really need to think about how we can be present within the guest journey now more than ever. I mean, if I was here in January, I would have spoke about this, but this has a complete different context, COVID-19. The looking stage, it's a very competitive environment. We're fighting for 20%, 30% occupancy in the marketplace. So really make sure, guys, remember that screenshot of all of those words associated to travel. Make sure on your website and on your reviews that you are meeting those demands. And then think about the rest of the guest journey, how you can help them feel safe and feel secure and feel trusted and ultimately enjoy their stay. So this is some examples of how some of our clients, this is a client in the UK that I wanted to share, of how they've just used messaging pre-stay, during stay and in-stay. So here we can see somebody has arrived from Australia and they've asked, how far is the hostel from Heathrow Airport? Really important that you respond to these kind of questions, guys. We can't afford for leads to just be unanswered. I urge you to look at your booking.com messages and make sure you respond to your incoming booking.com messages. During stay, this guest has asked, are they serving cup of tea and cake? This is fantastic. What a great way to drive incremental revenue. And this is something key to hoteliers. If I'm at your property, and you're running at 30% occupancy, you really need to make sure I spend money on your property. So if I ask what time is dinner, you need to make sure you get back to me and promote your menu and make sure I enjoy a lovely meal on your property and not at the restaurant down the road. And then equally, how can you drive loyalty? So here, a guest has messaged the hostel saying that they left their sunglasses on the bed, and the hostel has managed with workflows to relocate the guest with their sunglasses. This is guaranteed to leave a great online review and drive loyalty. So hopefully, guys, that was a very quick overview into the different trends that we're seeing in online reviews, what the guests are saying in comparison to the hotel, and the different expectations, needs and wants that we're seeing. So in summary, I have 4 key takeaways for you today. The new guest, we've spoke about it a lot today, and I think you're all with me that we need to understand what are their new wants, needs and desires in a post-COVID-19 world. And that might differ to the different segments. And again, those needs and wants might change now versus December versus next year. We need to make sure that we capture those guest requests during stay and we carry out any service recovery, any problems that the guests might have on stay, and we deal with it then and there. Because we need to make sure that when that guest leaves, they've had a fantastic stay. So we need to protect our online reputation because we cannot afford to have negative reviews anymore. you need to think about your management response and make sure you really maximize that response and you communicate all of the fantastic work you have been doing at your property. That's what guests want to hear about. That's what's going to reassure me and make me feel safe and comfortable to book your property. And then finally, really think about the future. You know, how can technology like AI and automation really help you improve the guest experience? This is where we need to look to be next year, and certainly 2022, because it's going to be technology that allows us to meet those new guest demands. So start to think about messaging. What do you need to do to be able to have WhatsApp in place offered to your guests, for example? So they are my 4 key takeaways. Thank you so much for having me here today. And if anybody has any questions, I would love to hear from you now. Hopefully, Leah, you're going to share some of those questions with me today.
Yes, I am. Thank you so much. Well, very interesting, and I don't want to say the word worrying data, but you know, it's a change, and human beings are at first at least reluctant to change. So let's say that we will need some time to get used to everything. If you want to stop sharing your screen, so we can. Excellent. So first of all, I'd like to say that it's great that different experts provide the same messages, and there is a consistency in what you guys say that give the professionals the actual vibe of what they need to focus on, which is, you know, communicate what you've done, communicate. When we were rehearsing the other day, I don't know if I heard you saying that, but it really stuck into my head where you said that, you know, in the pre-COVID era, if you had a couple of reviews that were negative, well, okay, because you had 100 more that were positive. But now, if you've got 30 reviews in total and 5 of them are negative, then the result is like, you know, multiplied.
It's detriment, yeah. Especially if that was the last review. Imagine your hotel's been closed and your last review on TripAdvisor is 1 out of 5.
Or the first review.
Or the first review, absolutely. And your competitors is 5 out of 5.
Yeah, we have a question on that, Danica. Okay, so the question is in Greek, but it actually says, what are the actions we must take when we get a bad review? Is there a way to drastically change the results of that bad review?
So the first thing is, don't wait for a bad review to take place. Make sure you've scenario planned this already. And time is of the essence. You need to respond immediately. However, we all know sometimes guests can be completely crazy with their reviews that it's not in line with actually what's happened. So take a step back and take a breather, and always get somebody else to check your review and remove your emotions. And remember, when you're responding to that review, you're not responding to the guests. So really emphasize the other positives within the hotel. For example, if I complain that the room smelt of bleach, for example, and it impacted my stay, in your response, really emphasize that you've gone above and beyond during this difficult time to ensure the cleanliness of the guests, and that many other reviews have complimented and really were pleased to see an increased hygiene level at the hotel.
Oh, so you can use other positive reviews to actually emphasize that they're crazy?
Yeah, in a very skilled way, and also
in a nice way.
And also on that point there, remember guys that we're humans, and when I read your TripAdvisor page, if I see a crazy guest, I also know, you know, and I read your other reviews and they're sincere and honest and transparent, then it doesn't matter if you get the odd, you know, extreme review, but you must always respond to it still.
Yeah. What we always say also in complaint handling and in customer service, it's the same exactly thing, that, you know, some will be irrational, but you know, the others will complement and will cover the gap. So where do you propose we can get more detailed guidance regarding replying? Is there anything you can propose?
Yes. So
I
if you
wanted to offer you from now, live, live
brilliant,
streamed,
sorry, yeah,
and
I know.
we need to do a seminar, a workshop about actually replying.
Yes,
So
yes,
if you
I would
want to
love
do
that
that,
because
we'll organize it from September,
that
and we'll
would be
put it
great.
in the new syllabus of our training
Yeah,
courses to have a seminar, a workshop,
yeah.
to do replying, just writing, replying to reviews.
Exactly, because there's simple things like if it's a negative review, never put the hotel name in the response. If it's a positive review, always put the hotel name because it helps with your SEO and Google.
Right.
So if you go to reviewpro.com/resources, we have really good guides and blogs on how to respond. You know, you have to think about languages. If I leave a French review, try and respond to me in French, and also the different rules and regulations. TripAdvisor, Google, and Booking.com have different rules when it comes to how you respond to reviews. So really good question, and I'm glad there's interest, and I would love to do that in September because I think it would be beneficial.
So is there somewhere we can guide people to get more
Yeah, I'll
information?
put it in the chat. I'll put the URL in the chat to everybody.
And sorry, I switched to Greek. Θα το βάλουμε κάτω από τα σχόλια στο live και στο Facebook και στο YouTube για να μπορέσετε να έχετε access σε αυτά τα tools. So, Danica, who should be responsible ideally in a small property, say a 50-room hotel? Obviously for responding, I guess. Yeah.
The GM. The general manager, I
think.
In
our case, I would say the GM cases like this could be even the owner.
Yeah, if it's a COVID-19 mention, definitely. And whoever's responded, they need to make sure they have the right training and are aware of how to respond.
Okay, there is a question in the chat that says, do you believe that all this pre-communication as well as the information during the stay about health changes the customer's feeling from vacation to a visit a hospital hotel?
Yeah, so
valid.
Yeah, and as a marketeer, I think this is really exciting because the challenge for hoteliers.
People weird.
But I know, but this is where independent hotels, I think, have such an advantage over corporate hotels and brand hotels, because how do you make cleanliness and health and safety and hygiene interesting to me? So we've seen some of our clients have really cool landing pages, images, graphics, videos. How do you have nice videos of cartoons like I had in my presentation with the mask to make it less scary, less formal? So really think about how, because you have to in the interim really talk about the health and safety and the protocol and the cleanliness that you've implemented. You have to, but try and make it, with a bit of character and bring in your own, your own personality in that,
Or if your personality does not match, don't bring your own personality, bring somebody else's personality.
Well, exactly.
It's more fun.
Yeah, I mean, you can't make cleanliness sexy, but you've got to try.
Oh yeah, yeah. You can though. You can. I mean, it's possible. Just
Leah,
like
that sounds like you've accepted that challenge. I want to see.
Yeah, I've accepted the challenge in the past of presenting and training employees in hotels for health and safety, and the challenge was to make it fun, and it's possible.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, it's
information
possible.
Does not need to be boring, and that's the message. Yeah.
And it can differentiate you at the same time. So the last question, Danica, is how can we keep up with the constantly changing needs of guests?
Ooh, yes, by joining, webinars such as this and listening to the experts. LinkedIn, make sure you are involved in a different industry, and globally as well, not just in your local markets. You're reading, you're researching, and you're educating yourself, because it's going to constantly change. And look at the last 3 months, how everything has changed so quickly and continues to change. So it's important you dedicate time in your week, and I know you're really busy, but at least 2 hours a week, whether it's on a Sunday morning, to really watch webinars and read articles of what the industry is doing. And that's where you're going to keep up to date with the guests. There's other tactical things you can do on your property. We have surveys, and some of our clients have created research surveys, send out to their Facebook fans or loyalty guests to say, hey, when are you going to travel? What do you expect from us at the hotel? So maybe also in your local properties, you know, ask your guests, you know, in your post day with surveys, what did you like? What didn't you like? What would you see different? And try and capture those different needs and changing desires.
Well, the surveys are always very helpful, but we need to be careful and not to overdo it, because people are receiving a lot of requests for them. And the most important thing is that when you decide to do a survey, ladies and gentlemen, make sure that you know what you want to do with the data you're going to receive.
Absolutely.
You just do a survey to say, oh, I was told to do a survey, I'll do a survey. But what are you going to do with the data? So before you do something like that, decide your end game. And then go ahead and get your data, you know.
Yeah.
All right. Well, let me make sure that I've asked all the questions. I think I did. Anything happy and positive you want to close with, please?
Yes. So I spoke to my colleague in Singapore who looks after APAC, and one of their clients hit 70% occupancy on the weekend.
Wow.
And they opened the end of February. So,
what type of guests do we know?
It was a 5-star luxury independent hotel of around about 90 rooms, and it was Chinese domestic travelers, and they usually attract international guests. So
they changed the market.
Changed the market, and first time they hit 70%. In April they were at 45%. So it was quite a dramatic increase in occupancy. So this gives me hope that hopefully that trend in APAC will, you know, start to migrate to Europe, and we will start to see business picking up and booming, because the hotels, I think, are ready to welcome the new guest.
Oh yeah, we think so too. Let's hope for everything to go well, because we're open now, fully open, in quotation, fully open, and you know, every day is a different question mark, how it will end, how it will start, how it will end. Danica, I want to thank you so much. It was lovely having you here. You're such a delight to hear, even if you're giving us bad news or whatever, to hear from you.
Well, thank you so much. Thank you for having us.
Stay with me so we can I can close up. It's going to sound a little bit Greek to you, but stay with me. I'm going to switch back to English for the end.
Thanks, everyone.
All right. Κυρίες και κύριοι, ευχαριστούμε πάρα πολύ που ήσασταν μαζί μας. Θα λάβετε το link για να αξιολογήσετε το webinar και τις πληροφορίες που μας έδωσε η Ντάνικα και να λάβετε την παρουσίασή της. Θα τα ξαναπούμε την Παρασκευή με τους δύο ψυχιάτρους μας, μην τρομάζετε. So Danica, on Friday we have 2 psychiatrists who are going to tell us how to recognize and manage the guest's fear and stress. And how to deal with that. Οπότε ο Φίλιππος και ο Δήμος θα μας μιλήσουν για το πώς να βλέπουμε και να αντιλαμβανόμαστε να εμπνέουμε εμπιστοσύνη στους πελάτες μας, να αντιλαμβανόμαστε τα δυσφορικά συναισθήματά τους, το άγχος, το φόβο, την αγωνία και πώς να τα διαχειριζόμαστε. Και το Σάββατο με 16 από τους εισηγητές μας στο Training Series έχουμε το The Farewell Webinar. Ξέρουμε ότι γράφεται ιστορία αυτή τη στιγμή παγκοσμίως. Οι 16 εισηγητές μας και συντονιστές των πάνελ μας θα μας δώσουν μια τελευταία αποτύπωση του πώς βλέπουν τα πράγματα, τι μάθαμε, τι καινούργιο υπάρχει στο δικό τους industry. Μέχρι τότε, ευχαριστούμε πολύ. Keep learning, stay safe. Danica, thank you so much. Thank you, it was a pleasure.
Thanks everybody.
Take care.
Bye.
Σας ευχαριστούμε πολύ. Τα λέμε την Παρασκευή. Γεια σας.